Welcome everybody back to another video here with Chris, and today we're going to be taking a little bit of a dive into the new Broly leader, aka Villian Broly is what I'm going to call him, that we have coming out in set 27. And as always, make sure you guys like and subscribe if you guys do enjoy the content. So Broly is, this is a fascinating leader. Arguably might be the best leader coming out of the set. This leader might go right to the top of being one of the best decks in the format. We'll have to see. But on the unawakened side, you attack, draw a card, 4 life or less, or if you have a 2 or more energy and a yellow Z unison that costs 2 in play, you draw a card, restand an energy, and take life down to 4. So this is already a difference from the rest of the leaders in the set. Everything awakens at 5 or 6 life, and they're draw 2s. So none of the other leaders actually, to my knowledge, also restand energy. So this is a way for you to be able to actually have defense. I think the 1/1 is probably the best awaken, just because it's super simple. It gives you access to another energy, whether you can use it for offensive purposes or defensive purposes. But you do go down to 4, which does set you up in a very interesting situation. But awaken side's definitely, I would say, counteracts it a little bit, but definitely gives you a little extra defense. So, auto once per turn. When your energy is switched to rest mode, draw 1 card. Additionally, if it's your turn and all of your energy is in rest mode, it's mono yellow, play up to 1 fierce foe, which is the new archetype for this deck. Card with an energy cost less than or equal to your current energy from your hand. Then this card gets 10k power until the end of your opponent's turn. So you do have a way of sort of allowing yourself to awaken, right? Early, and then also being able to sort of buff yourself up during that second turn. That's the turn you're really kind of looking at is. So now you have the chance of being able to buff yourself up to 25k on turn 2. Outside of black decks, there's not a lot of other decks that's gonna be able to swing over 25k. Without giving away too many cards in their hand. Now you do get to play a card for free, up to 1 card, equal or less cost than your energy. So ideally, you're going to be tapping out offensively probably most turns to get these bigger cards out. Now let's go over some of those cards here, but first let's go over the card that you actually need to awaken, which is the Tapion Confrontation. 15k, 2 cost unison, 1 Z energy. Activate main, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards or unisons, both in rest mode. It can't switch to active mode until the end of your opponent's turn, which is really strong, actually. That gives you just a free lockdown. The +0 effect is to restand this card, so you can also make it dual attack. And then auto, when your battle card is played or when this card attacks, you can activate a skill that includes an energy marker skill cost on this card twice for the turn. So you can play this guy, swing with it, tap the energy, which will then draw you a card. You can play a guy if you have one that fits the cost, or you can not do that. Regardless, you're going to give your leader 10k, and then this card can now activate either the +1 effect again, or the +0 effect. So essentially, you can swing. You can go Tapion, swing, tap a yellow, draw a card, activate main, restand the Tapion, swing again, activate main, restand the Tapion, swing again. So you can swing 3 times with Tapion on turn 2. It's interesting. Now I don't know if it means, because the card does say when you activate a skill that includes a marker skill cost. So because it technically doesn't have a cost, it does technically, but it's not, it's being a number of 0, but right. Either way, or you can just +2, right? That's also really good. So, Unison's very good. Now, this is kind of the card you need to awaken. I don't think you necessarily need to keep it alive later on in the game. So if it dies, you might not replay it again, because it will kind of mess up how your play is. But it is something you want to remove, because having to deal with this 2 swings or 3 swings in a turn, or being able to lock down your cards. It's going to be kind of annoying. So then we have the Turles, and I'm not going to say the confrontation part every time, but this is the Turles Fierce Foe card. Search top 5, add up to 1 yellow Fierce Foe card from those to your hand. And then if your leader is a Fierce Foe card and you discard this card from your hand, when your Fierce Foe card is played, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, switch to the rest mode. So when you play another Fierce Foe, you can pitch this card from your hand to tap something. That's pretty cool. You're more likely going to be playing this. Ideally, like your best turn 2 play is swing with the Unison, tapping the energy for the Unison, which will then draw you a card. So then you can activate the Tapion 2 more times, and then you can play this guy from your hand. And then your leader gets 10k, and then you're drawing a card off your leader effect, and then you're cycling and drawing a card off of that. So that's kind of like the best turn 2 play. But there's some different ways of you also could do it if you need to play more defense. We have Janepa. This is actually a card I don't know if you actually will play a lot in the deck. So you draw a card if your opponent has 2 or more energy, and then you play this card. The problem is with Broly, you'll see as we get into these bigger cards, you kind of want to tap out when you play these cards, right? So this is, you can kind of make this a 2-cost play. The auto on this card, so it's a dual attack, deflect. Auto on this card, if it's your turn when this card's played, or when a card is switched to rest mode by one of your skills, choose one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, ignoring barrier, KO it. This card gets 5k for the turn. So you can't play this card on, so you can play it on turn 3, but you're not actually going to tap out. Unfortunately. So you can't. Because you have to spend just 3 for this card in general, which also doesn't feel good because you're not getting the draw. So this is kind of a weird one where I think you're not really cheating out cards in this deck. More so as you're just hard casting cards and then getting the free play off of your leader. This card doesn't really fit that mold, but this is going to be a card for other yellow decks. This is just a generic good card. Probably some of the easiest barrier removal that you have, where you don't have to jump through a bunch of hoops to remove the barrier, and it's all on one card, and it's just 2 energy, and it's going to draw you a card, so it's going to cycle a card too. So this is actually a good card just for other decks other than this Broly deck. Next is the true 3-drop you're going to play in this deck. Garlic Jr., deflect, unique, blocker. If your leader is a yellow Fierce Foe, this card gains indestructible. And then auto on this card is play, draw a card, and then choose up to one of your opponent's cards and switch it to rest mode, which is any card. Auto, when this card attacks or activates blocker, switch this card to active mode. So this card also has the ability of being able to attack twice or block twice, and it has indestructible, meaning really only red. This card doesn't have barrier, so this card's just going to die to red. But this is a really good card. So tapping, being able to play this card on turn 3, very good. You have to play it on turn 4 to get the tap effect, or use your marker. So that's okay. I just think it's a strong body that you have. Now you don't get the draw effect if you don't tap the extra energy. So you can't just play it for 3 and then draw a card. So this is a very, very powerful card. Then we have the other 3-drop, which is the Rudigarn card. And I know my camera's probably blocking a little bit here, but I'll read it for you guys. 25k deflect, double strike. If your leader's Fierce Foe, when this card's played from your hand, draw a card, and then choose it to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO it. So it's got a free draw, free removal for another energy. So for 1 green, for 1 yellow, if your leader's Fierce Foe, when this card's played from your hand, draw another card, and then until the end of your opponent's turn, this card gains barrier and dual attacks. This becomes a 25k dual attack, barrier, deflect, double strike. That's really, really good. And it removes a card and it draws 2 cards. This card is really, really sick. Again, turn 4. It's kind of when you're going to be playing this guy. Really strong. I'm actually kind of shocked how strong some of these cards are. Yeah, this card has all, like, both of these cards together have 4 pieces of keyword text that they can earn or they already have. I'm not including unique, but like this is intense. So like these are like your turn 4 plays technically. Rudigarn technically you can play on turn 3 as well, just to KO something and draw a card. It's a double striker for 3 energy, right? But on turn 4 is really where you're gonna start being able to pop off with this card, because now outside of like yellow and black, there's not a lot of cards that can stop a dual, double, barrier, double striker card. Then we have Broly. This is the 35k battle card. Cannot attack if your leader is yellow. Fierce foe when this card is played, or your opponent plays a card, draw a card. Choose one of your yellow Broly battle cards, switch to active mode, and then choose one of your opponent's battle cards or unisons ignoring barrier and switch to the rest mode. This is nice against red. This is going to allow you to basically tap down your opponent's board. It's almost like a Poutine effect, right? That's really cool. It's a 35k, so like I said, red's gonna have a hard time dealing with this. Everything else though can remove it. Like black, you're like, okay, I'll just counterplay, right? They can counterplay. Blue can bounce it. Green has a lot of just spot removal cards. So this card's really good into red. Not really good into a lot of other stuff just for the removal. But the fact is that it does draw a card, and you can restand one of your Broly cards. So you can restand this card. If it gets tapped, you can restand another Broly battle card that you'll definitely see in the deck. This is an okay card. Then we have Bio Broly. This is one of the 4-drop battle cards you're going to play to attack. We have Deflect Blocker. If your leader is a yellow fierce foe, when this card's played, draw 1. This card can't be removed from the battle area by your opponent's skills till the end of your turn, which is really good into all of the other colors that I just mentioned, blue, green, black. At the end of your turn, choose 2 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barriers. They can't switch to active mode till the end of your opponent's turn, which is also really, really good, because this now allows you to have an answer to like black, right? So like black playing SS4 Vegito, that barrier blocker double striker card is really hard for almost every color to remove other than black, and yellow just can't remove it. This gives you the ability to not have to worry about it for a turn. You can just keep it locked down, and it's a 30k body, and it draws you a card, and it can be removed for the turns. Like this card does everything you absolutely need it to into the black matchup, which will be I think the big component for this deck being able to do well is being able to play against black. Black's gonna be very good next set, as it has been for a few sets now. And this is just good against everything else too. Like just being able to like lock down 2 cards on board, draw a card, and then swing a body that can be removed, or keep it as a blocker. He said this is very, very powerful. And then it brings us to the other 4-drop, which is Metacooler. 30k Deflect. When this card is played, play up to 3 Metacooler tokens, which are 15k power, 0 combo cost, 5k combo power. Activate main, remove one of your Metacooler cards from the game, draw 1, and switch this card to active mode. So this card if you play Bio Broly, right? Or you play another one of the guys we already looked at, Harudegarmer Garlic Jr. or whatever, right? You then can play this card for free. So you develop a body there. You develop a 30k body, which then also develops 3 15k bodies. And unless you're playing against green and dormant, there's not much you can do about this, man. This is a lot of damage. This is 5 attacks in 1 card that you could potentially play for free. It's really, really sick. And it also can draw you a card. So like this is just an amazing powerhouse card for this deck. And kind of what you need. I mean, if you think about it, you're kind of tapping out almost every turn. So you need these cards to do a lot offensively for you or defensively for this deck to be relevant. And this is definitely probably out of all the cards we've seen so far, maybe outside of like the Harudegarm card, this is probably the best battle card you're going to play. Now we get to the Broly. So we have the 8-drop Broly, dual Deflect. Activate main for 4 energy. If your leader is a fierce foe, you draw 2 cards, plays a card from your hand, choose all of your opponent's battle cards and switch from the rest mode. So it's just a complete board tap. When this card's played, choose up to 1 each of your opponent's battle cards and energy, both in rest mode. They can't switch to active mode until the end of your opponent's turn. So you get to lock down an energy and lock down a battle card and draw 2 cards and then tap your entire opponent's board. So if they have blockers up, boop, you just tap everything. And it's 35k. Like it's a big, big number. That brings us to the SR, which is Broly Vigor. Activate main or battle if you're for 2 yellow. If your leader is yellow and your opponent has 3 more energy, play the card from your hand. Choose any number of your cards and switch them to rest mode. And then for each card you switch to rest mode, choose up to 1 keyword skill from among Crit, Double Strike, Barrier, Dual Attack, Blocker, and Revenge. And this card gains those skills for the game. So I don't know how to feel about this card. This is some of the most I want to say this is one of the most creative cards we've seen in the game. because this card can literally do everything. Thankfully, it doesn't draw you a card, right? So it doesn't replace itself. But the fact you can play this card in the battle step or the main step, and you can just tap anything to gain one of these keyword skills, right? So if you play this card for 2 and then you tap like your leader and then like your Z unison or something, or like a Z extra, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna give it barrier and blocker, or I'm gonna give it barrier and dual attack, or crit double striker. Like, you can just do whatever combination you want that you think it's good for that situation. This card has some of the most. This card is one of the highest ceilings, I think, out of any card we've seen in the game. I don't think any card has the ability to sort of shapeshift like this card does. And this is not leader locked, so this is just gonna be in every yellow deck. Bandai single-handedly brought yellow back into the meta, non-Shadow Dragon decks with this card. And the Shadow Dragon decks can play this card too. But like, the fact of how good this card is, it's phenomenal how good this card is. Which brings me to another really, really strong card, which is a rocket built for one person. I hate this card. I think this card is this might be one of those cards that I think needs to be dealt with before we have to deal with it. So it's a 2-cost Z extra, costs 1 Z energy. Has a Z stack 1 effect for X energy, where there's a Z card with an energy cost of X or less. So, permanent. Your opponent's battle cards with the same keyword skills as cards under this card can't attack or switch to active mode. So what this means is that you can put a card underneath that has a keyword skill double strike, barrier. Your opponent cannot attack with cards that have either one of those keyword skills. Take it a step farther. If you have a card that has let's say there's a card that has like 4 or 5 keyword skills on it. That means you can't attack or switch cards to active mode that have any of those keyword skills. This is something that Bandai, I think, needs to address before we have to deal with it. I think this card might be a problem. Probably going to be an issue. You also can activate the skill of the Broly Vigor in your hand, reduce it by 2 yellow, meaning you can free play the 8-drop. Yeah, so and this is not leader locked, mind you, so we have to deal with this in other decks. This card does get removed from the game at the end of your opponent's turn, but it's basically a whole turn that you buy where your opponent can't attack with a lot of stuff. So now there's going to be ways to play around it, but like, it sucks. Like, it's a very difficult card to play around. They gave yellow just like probably one of the best floodgates in the game. A preemptive floodgate. Now we're gonna go over the I guess the counterattack package, or the counter package here, which we have Bojack, 25k unique, negate the attack play of this card if your leader is a yellow fierce flow, and all of your energies in rest mode. You can activate this card from your hand, your counter skill from paying it from your hand without paying its energy cost. So it's free. The free 25k body that blocks an attack, negates an attack, does not block the attack, but it does have unique. So if you keep this card on the board, like if you tap it down or something, your opponent can't play another Bojack. So they can, I think they can activate the negate. They just can't play another body. So like, if they have a Bojack on board and they haven't negated that turn, you can technically activate the counter skill, and it should just go to the drop, is how I think that would work. And then we have Mercenary Tau, which is a counter play. If your opponent is playing a battle card 35k power or less, it's played in rest mode. This is a 25k blocker. If your leader is a fierce foe and all your energy is in rest mode, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand by adding 1 card from your life to your hand, which can be a little deadly depending on how you look at it, because you go down to 4 life so early. You don't have a way of gaining life back, so like you can only activate maybe 1 or 2 of these the whole game, and that's saying something. Maybe only even 1, if you think about it. But no, this card it's good. I'm glad that you have to take a life to use this card. I think Bojack should have been the same way, but it's fine. Yeah, they at least get 1 of these for free. I would actually rather them have You know, actually thinking about it, I'd rather than have the Bojack because Tao's going to tap something and then it's also a blocker. At least Bojack's just a 25k body. And then we have the Secret Rare, which we've already talked about in the Frieza video, but this is a Fierce Foe card, so this is something that you'll probably want to play in this deck. Also because the extra tapping mechanic of being able to warp cards and then floodgate your opponent also just allows you to tap out to then proc your leader effect, right? Now we're going to go over the Broly deck. I actually built a Broly deck already, so I'll go over what I came up with and just kind of show you guys how ridiculously broken this deck is probably going to be. All right, so this is a 53 card list. I really wanted to find some of the most broken cards I could think of to fit into this deck. I think I found a pretty good combination of stuff. So with this leader, really, again, your idea is that you should be tapping out every turn. Now, there's going to be turns where you're not going to tap out, and then you might tap out in your opponent's turn, but you're not going to get this bottom effect, right? So get the most out of your turn, you're going to want to tap out, right? And it's not, this auto doesn't trigger when you want it to, it's triggered the first time you tap energy. So, if you just play a 1-drop, you'll draw a card, and you won't get the rest of your effect. So keep that in mind. So, early, we have 2 cantrips. I included this Bulma because it is a 1-drop. This is just for turn 1. Just for turn 1. You could cut this and just go right to 50. Bump this up to 1. Up 1 more, go to 4. I just wanted to have just the hard draw because we do actually play some cards in this deck that are not Fierce Foe. So I just wanted to have the ability of potentially drawing those. And then, of course, 3 Turles here. All right. After turn 2, Bulma becomes a lot less useful, right? You can still play Bulma on turn 2, right? So, like, you play the Unison, you awaken. You play Bulma, you draw a card. You can then play Turles. So you can draw a card off Bulma, draw a card off your leader, draw a card off Turles, playing it from your hand for free, get 2 cards on board to combo with. After that, it's charge fodder, which is fine because this allows us to have a card in our hand we can charge if we draw it. 4 of the Garlic Juniors. This is, you're probably going to end up charging 1. Yeah, it has unique. But you want to make sure you have this card in your hand. This is probably one of your, like, better, like, turn. Because you're going to have to understand, at some point, you're going to have to stop charging. Right? Because you're not going to have the energy to play all of these cards out and tap your energy at one time. So you probably will stay at 4 energy for most of the game. And then maybe 5 depending on if you utilize, like, you want to go to 5 to maybe utilize the Secret Rare or something, right? Other than that, you're really never going to go, I feel like you're not going to go over 4 that much. That way, because, like, this costs 4, the Rudigarm costs 4 to get the full effect off, and I really don't feel like you probably want to go much higher than that, right? Just so you can get the 25k boost, right? And the free play. But we do run 4 of each of those. I run 4 Metacooler, of course. This card's just ridiculously broken. Of a powerhouse of a card, so you just have to run 4 of it. I run 3 Bio Broly, just for space. 4 Bojack, and 3 Tao. This is okay, even though it's a 0 cost. Like, you can activate this for free on turn 1, technically. No, I'm sorry. Is he not a Fierce Foe? No, turn 2. Okay. You can't do it until you awaken. Not a Fierce Foe on the front side, so you can't do it on turn 1. But you can do it when you play the Unison, and now you have a free negate, and then if your opponent does something, now you can utilize this. But again, it's kind of a weird one because this card is going to take you down to 3 on turn. If you use it on turn 2, to take you down to 3 on turn 2. Even with all the cards that you're drawing, all the defense you have, like, that's still kind of scary. We have 3 of the 8-drop Broly just because space-wise I couldn't fit a 4th one. Now we have some special tech cards, and a lot of these are going to be tech stuff, and we're going to go over. So this is Prideful Transformation. You have a Unison that you play out to awaken, so this card becomes active. It's taps anything that comes into play during that window, and then also as a blocker. Super solid, just very easy defense. I think it fits this deck very well because, again, the unison is going to be a big part of our early game, so you might as well want to have some extra defense in there. One Absolute Annihilation. Oh, this card's funny. So, tapping out on turn 3, playing this card, allows you now to become a 25k, play one of these, have your unison up for like Vegeta and other stuff. Now, if your opponent can't remove this, the next turn and the rest of the game, they have to tap an extra energy if they want to activate an extra card. Really, really ridiculous. It's probably one of your better 3-drop turns, because like playing both of these in the same turn, like it seems okay. Like you could play this, but you're not gonna get the other effect, right? So like playing this on turn 3, I know I just have one of them in here, but it's just an idea here, right? Play it on turn 3, then you can play one of these, and then on turn 4, go back and play the other one, right? But this card is going to start adding, unless you're playing against black, it's going to add so much value as the game goes on, because it's going to be very difficult for your opponent to remove this, and if they don't have barrier removal, it's just going to sit there the whole game, and it's going to tax your opponent. 2 of the SS Broly confrontation, 8 drops. I think 2's fine. Again, this is a turn 4 play, but these are also turn 4 plays, so you just have to figure out which one kind of fits you the best. Now we get some fun stuff, and we're playing High to Mastery. All right, so this is another turn 3 play. All right, so 19k barrier. This card's played. You draw a card, and you switch one of your opponent's cards to rest mode, and then swap 8, sparking 7, which you'll be able to get. Swap into an 8 cost, which we could swap into this guy. Note, this is also a 4 energy play, meaning on 4 energy we can play Broly. I mean, we can play this guy, and then also play one of these, right? So for people who don't know what High to Mastery is, because this card's really old, it's also a really good looking card. It's deflect, triple attack, or triple strike, dual attack. When this card's played with swap, choose up to 3 total of 3 of your opponent's battle cards or energy, ignoring barrier, and switch from the rest mode. So you can basically kill somebody on turn 4 if you played this and you have the sparking 7. You just slam this guy, right, for 4 energy. Auto will go off. You'll tap 3 of their energy, so you can basically tap them out. You'll draw a card off your leader. You go to 25. You can then play Metacooler, which then basically creates 4 attacks. So you have 1, 2, right? You have 2 attacks here for 6 damage. 4 attacks here, plus the 5th one, because then you can pop a card to draw, and then this guy. Not including whatever else you have on the board. It's insane. Insane. I also include 2 Gohans, because this is a card we can easily tap out with. So when this card's played with 4 more markers, you can KO X amount of cards for the cards in your drop area, for unisons in your drop area, which you might not have a lot, but you can play this guy. He's going to draw you a card for the +1. He's a dual attack. He's a blocker. You can also -3 to give your leader 5k for the turn until the end of your opponent's next turn, and then this card gets triple attacks. You can swing this guy twice, keep him above the blocker. You can tap this card actually allows you to charge more than 4 energy, because like you can tap 5 for this, right? You tap 5, you'll draw a card. You can then play any of these, right? Any of your villain cards. Draw a card, go up to 25, and then -3 on this to go to 30 as a base till the end of your opponent's turn, and then now you have a blocker on board as well. So that kind of a little makes up for the fact that, like, again, charging too much energy might be a problem. This does kind of alleviate that a little bit. 4 Krillin super combos, and then we have some extra cards here. We have Release from Evil, Frieza, and the Nimbus. This is good because you're gonna tap out a lot. Just extra defense. We don't need a ton of this card because of Again, we're going to be at 4 life, so we don't want to use too many of these. Release from Evil, of course, is just great. Like if you're not worried about if you're not expecting a release from Evil, it's gonna hurt. And then we have Eternal Enemy. Of course, Secret right here. So this gives us another card we can use as a way to tap out on longer standing games if I charge more than 4 energy. Z deck, 3 of the Tapion, 3 of the Rocket build for 1 person, because why wouldn't you play 3 of this card? And we just have some other extra some battle cards in here that you can technically use from underneath here. So this card technically you probably want to play instead. You also can sub this out for something else, but this just has barrier removal in it. You can swing twice. Evolved Defender, Deflect and Barrier. It's good in some matchups. Also can tap cards down before they come into play. Sell All Encompassing Terror. So this card has Deflect, Barrier, Dual Attack, Blocker. One of the best cards to put underneath the field. And we have Frieza, Resurrected Ambition. So if you guys read the field here, let me go over this real quick. So this X effect is you have to pay this many energy for the Z cost of that card. So if you play this for 2, right, and you tap and you get rid of the 1 Z energy, this cost here is what you have to pay in energy. So to tuck the cell, you basically are paying 4 energy, right? You pay 4 energy. Again, that puts you in the right spot if you're only charging the 4. So now you can play a guy. You get a draw. You can then play a Broly, and then this guy then floodgates your opponent from basically attacking with anything. This guy has Deflect and Double Strike on it, and it only costs 1 extra energy. So I thought that was kind of cool. Just a cheaper way to actually play. To play out some cards. Now, you can go through the Z deck. You can just find cards. Like you have this, which is Deflect, Triple Strike, Barrier, Blocker, but this one costs 3. Right? You have like the Zamasu here, which is Crit, Dual Attack. You have where is the red blue Shin? I know that card has a bunch of text. Yeah, here it is. This guy's Deflect, Barrier, Dual Attack, Blocker, but it's kind of the same thing. Like this costs 3, so I think you could also just like basically just swap these out and then just play 3 of this too. So like that's also an option. But yeah, man, I think this is just one of the broken things you can do in this deck. Try it out. I feel like we're going to see a lot of this, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to prep to beat this deck. So it's going to be fun. We'll get a lot of playtesting and hopefully against it once the deck actually comes out. So before the first new competitive event of the season, other than the one in California that I can't unfortunately attend. Can't actually go to Nats this year now that they moved it and it's not online. So, yep, just can't get the time off. So, but that'll be it for me today, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the little spicy tech here that we put in the deck. So, let me know what stuff you guys have found out with the deck that you guys are enjoying. And let me know. So, I'm interested to see what you guys come up with. So, thank you guys for watching. As always, like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.